How we talk to ourselves really matters. That's what we're going to talk about today. Hey everyone, it's Sarah and welcome back to my leadership development video series where we talk about growing yourself both personally and professionally and helping others as well. Today we're talking about being even more successful. The conversation I had today, this woman was telling me like, yeah, I'm doing pretty well, but I just have these things that I don't like about myself. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've got to remind people, be nice to yourself. So the first thing you need to do is pay attention to how you talk to yourself. A lot of us have this thing in our head that is telling us the meanest, cruelest things that anybody could ever say, and we're doing it to ourselves. Instead of encouraging ourselves, we're beating ourselves down. Instead of celebrating successes, we're telling ourselves everything that we did wrong. And that habit can really do a lot of damage. I know when I was working on getting my coaching certification, the rule was that I had to coach people, I had to do like 30 hours of coaching, but while I was doing that 30 hours, I had to work with my coach. And I remember the first time I coached with her, she gave me a book to read, and it was Taming Your Gremlins. And so I read it. And then the next time I talked to her, she gave me another book, and it was about spiritual growth. And I read that book and I thought, man, this is such a great book for my clients. And the third book she gave me, was about halfway through it when I was like, oh my goodness, these books are not for my clients. These books are for myself. Because what my coach could see was that I was really not doing nice talk. I was not talking nice to myself. Very critical, very not enough, and I still struggle with that even today, not being good enough. I've gotten better at it. So this is what I did. The third book that I read was called Cybernetics, and it's written years ago by a plastic surgeon, and he tells the story of these people who had like their nose was too big, and so they go and get their nose fixed, and he fixes it to the perfect size and it makes them beautiful. But instead of them feeling beautiful, they still think that there's a problem with their nose. And what he discovered is that if people don't do internal work, no matter how awesome they are on the external, that they still see themselves as ugly. And I started to really understand that thought, that unless I start doing internal work and start talking to myself in a very nice manner, I was always going to struggle with not being good enough. So I created a mantra, and basically for months I repeated this mantra to myself. So I would say, I know what I'm talking about. I'm a professional. I've paid my dues. I am good enough. And so eventually what happened was when I would hear myself saying some kind of crappy thing in the back of my mind, I would say, hey, that might have been true at one time, but it's no longer true. And then I'd repeat my mantra. And I believe that if we monitor and really control our self-talk, we can boost our success rate. Because a lot of times there's people who believe in us so much more than we believe in ourselves. And we get in our own way because of the crap that we're telling ourselves. So here's your challenge this week. Try to catch and understand what you're telling yourself. And a lot of times it may even be unconscious. So unconsciously, you're thinking about doing something and you're like, oh no, I'll never succeed at that. So what I want you to do is try to pay attention to what are you telling yourself, and see if you can catch yourself. Are you being nice? Are you mean to yourself? And then try to do something about it. Create a mantra. Work on happy self-talk, telling yourself how awesome you are, what a great job you're doing. Because the reality is even if you're struggling, you're doing a great job somewhere. So I look forward to hearing your comments. Does this resonate? Are you meaner to yourself than you would ever be to another person? I'd love to hear from you.